Okay, today we will be making the yellow brick road. You will need a ruler and a pencil as well as green and yellow and orange crayons. So let's go ahead and start with our horizon line. We're going to go ahead and make it higher up on our paper. That way it looks like we've got more of the yellow brick road to go. Remember the secret that if you line up your ruler with the edge of your paper, you will get a nice strong horizontal line that's perfectly even with the top edge of your paper. Now, let's say you don't have a ruler at home. That's no problem. If you just take a piece of paper, fold it in half to make a nice crisp edge, it will work just as well as a ruler for this project. But you do need a straight edge of some sort. Okay, our next step is to add our vanishing point. We want to go ahead and put that in the center. Remember, we use vanishing points to make things look like they are going further back into the picture. Just always keep in mind that desert scene when you're driving on the road and you look at the horizon line and it looks like the road converges or meets at one point. That point is called your vanishing point. Now, before we get ourselves too far, let's just add our Emerald City in the background. And we're going to add it by just drawing some rectangles. I made mine overlap a little bit. You don't have to. You can make them next to each other. However you think it is. You might want to practice using balance by making it kind of the same on both sides as far as how much space is being taken up. Like, for example, over here it feels a little bit heavier. There's more buildings, so I might add one more little small building like that. And that makes it feel a little bit more equal. Then I want to put a big dome around it. So I'm just going to go like that. Oops, my building. We're going to go like that. There we go. Now let's go ahead and leave that alone for right now. And let's draw our brick road. So I'm going to take my ruler out now. I want to set it on my vanishing point. So it needs to touch the vanishing point. And then I want it to end on the bottom edge of my paper. So I'm going to just kind of go like that. I do want a lot of space taken up by my road because it is the main focal point of our artwork today. Draw that line straight down. Come to the other side. Draw that line straight down. Now, whenever we're drawing with a vanishing point, 9 times out of 10, you do need a ruler because if you mess up the lines, it no longer looks like it's going further back into the picture. Okay, the first part of drawing our yellow brick road is drawing the horizontal lines that break up the bricks. Let's go ahead and just start at the bottom. You want to start with your bottom rows of bricks to be nice and wide. And then as you move further back, you make them a little bit thinner each time. As we do this, you'll start to see how it looks like it's going further back into the picture. We'll start seeing that one-point perspective at work. Now, we're not measuring, we're just kind of guessing. So it might happen that one row of bricks is bigger than it probably should be. We're just learning a new thing. So we're not worried about accuracy. We're just worried about getting the idea, the concept down. Get all the way up to the top to where you can't see anymore. And once you get up here, it's kind of hard to figure out how wide it should be. So just do your best. Remember, we're not going for accuracy. And at some point, it'll just kind of disappear into nothingness. Ooh, we still have a ways to go, though. The lines will get really close. Oops, look at that. I made a mistake. Good thing there's an eraser. Okay. Now, when we go to draw the vertical lines that break up our bricks, that is when it gets tricky. But if you just remember that any line that is going further back into the picture has to match the vanishing point, then you'll be pretty set on this. Now, the bricks that are closest to us are going to be pretty big bricks. So I'm going to go ahead and take my ruler, line it up with my vanishing point, and I'm only going to break up this first row of bricks into maybe 2, maybe 3 bricks. So double check that you're touching the vanishing point, and then you draw one line straight down. It probably won't be a vertical line. It'll probably be an angled line. When I want to draw my second brick or break up my space for a second time, I have to double check that my ruler is touching the vanishing point. And there we go, just like that. Now, I usually do my first 2 rows and plot it out a little bit, and then after that I'm going to show you how you just kind of skip every other one to draw your bricks. Now we go to our second row, and if I put it in the same spot that I did the first one, it's not going to look staggered, and I want them to look staggered. So lining it up and trying to break up that space somewhere in the middle of where the other brick was. Do you see what I mean? It's staggered. Now I'm going to do that with my next brick. I might have space for one more brick. Okay. Now, at this point, I just need to skip every other one. So I'm going to start with my bottom row. I'm going to line up my ruler with the vanishing point and with my bottom line. So this line here, and then, oops, I lost my vanishing point. There it is. This line here and my vanishing point up here. And now I'm going to draw a line in every other row. So I'll draw a line here. I will skip this row. Then I draw a line in this row. And I skip the next row. Draw a line, skip. And I'm going to do that all the way back to my vanishing point. Now, once it gets up here, it's a little bit complicated. You might have to go back and erase a little bit because these lines get really small, but even those ones back there matter. Okay, I think I got every other one. Oops, I skipped one right there. Do you see? So I need to erase these 3 lines. Now, the temptation is to just go ahead and draw the lines because I think I know where they go, but I don't actually. So I need to stick my ruler back down, line it back up with my vanishing point, figure out where I stopped, and then start over again. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to do that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do all of that row first. That way we kind of just know. So this one is a little bit easier because I just draw a line anywhere that already has a line, right? So I lined it up with my bottom line. Then I lined it up with my vanishing point. My 2 little things that it's got to line up with. Then, since I drew a line here, I'm going to draw a line here. Anywhere where I already drew a line, I'm going to draw another line. Now I can kind of see if I messed up on that first one and figure that out. Ooh, I did. Now I know. Okay, so that means I can go back to this one and fix that all over again. This time I'm going to line it up on this side just so I can see what boxes I should put it in. Like I said, that last little bit is pretty tricky. And at some point, the lines will look like they're all touching. And that's exactly what it should look like. Okay, so we've got every other one done. We just now need to do our other alternating lines. So I'm going to work from this side over so I can see what boxes have lines and what boxes do not. Now, these lines are going to go into the boxes that do not have lines yet. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. So I've got my first one done. Now I'm just going to go through and do my other ones. Okay. Come on over to this line. And since I have the line done on this side, I'm going to move it over to this side here so I can see it better. Line it up with my vanishing point and line it up with the line that has already been drawn. And then I'm going to go through and do that. I have to be careful not to be confused on which row gets which line. Remember, the further back you go, the more difficult it gets. If you don't get that back part perfect, it is not a big deal. We've got our last line to do. So I line it up with my vanishing point. I line it up with that bottom edge, or that line right there. And we go ahead and do the same thing. I've got my line on this row, so that means I need it on this row here. Okay, there we go. There's my yellow brick road with my Emerald City. Now all I need to do is color it in. It is important that you have some form of color, even if it's values of black and white, because when it's just a pencil drawing, it doesn't quite feel complete. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I'll start with my dome. And I'm going to color that a light green. And since my line is a curved line, I'm trying to color with curved lines. Remember, we follow the contour line. Now, for the rest of my city, I just grabbed a bunch of different values of green, and I'm going to go ahead and alternate those, and I don't want it to be a pattern. You can make a pattern, but I don't want a pattern. So I'm trying to make it kind of all sorts of random colors. Oh, that's one I already used, I think. Let's use this one instead. Now I want it to be this one. And to break it up a little bit more, I think I might add another color on top of it, just to make it slightly different than the others. So if you don't have a lot of choices of colors, you can always use two colors and mix them together into one color. Now for my yellow brick road, I'm going to follow that outside edge right here. And I'm just going to color it all yellow to start with. But the further away it goes, you're going to want to make it a little bit darker. So as I color, I'm using almost a triangle color, or a triangle line, where I start following this diagonal line, then I move towards a vertical line, and then I move back out to another diagonal line. But to make it look like it's going further back with my value as well, I took a really light orange that's mostly yellow with a little bit of orange, and I'm going to start at the top of my yellow brick road and pull that color out until it kind of just blends somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to color all the way down to the bottom. I stopped right about there. And so it gives the idea of it going further back. Okay. Now, at this point, we could stop, but it just doesn't look like a finished work. So I need to, since I started filling in the page with color, I need to finish filling in the page with color. So I'm going to start at my horizon line. Remember, we've learned that trick before, that if you take your finger and point and then put the crayon underneath, you can fill in a lot of space really quickly. And we're not really putting much emphasis on the ground, so we're just doing a quick color to get some color in there. And let's see if I've got a blue for the sky. Okay, there's our Emerald City.